Get ready for lockdowns. Get ready for lockdowns. I mean, this is what I keep hearing more and more about every single day. Emails filling up my inbox, DMs overloading my Instagram, and new channel members all wanting more information, ways to get better prepared or begin to get prepared because they're not at all. And most importantly, they want the truth and facts about what's happening and ultimately what I'm stockpiling personally and what my preps look like. What is number one on my list of items to stock up on now before it's too late, or we begin to see more shortages as our supply chains begin to slow down yet again. For instance, like how the Customs Agency has suspended BNSF and Union Pacific from its Customs Trade Partnership Program, or how Union Pacific is furloughing workers due to lower volumes, and Walmart is cutting pay and slashing hours for pharmacists and other higher paid and salaried employees. And perhaps why I'm also nearing capacity with the amount of new clients that I can onboard to help them begin their income diversification strategy and planning strategies as well, so that they can get on to a much better financial path sooner rather than later. All based on all of the terrible news and warning signs pretty much everywhere you look. Panic, stress, and fear. Increased amounts of anxiety and worry over job loss, unemployment, or just being extremely vulnerable and at risk based on some of the most recent events occurring in Washington, the White House, Congress, and let's not forget the banks. Like how JP Morgan Chase rejects customers' plea for reimbursement after a criminal with a Chase bank account steals $24,000. Or the recent U.S. Bank data breach that has leaked sensitive customer data and U.S. Bank says has been compromised in a global cybersecurity breach. Or the latest recommendation for year-long prison sentence for former Wells Fargo executive after being exposed and his involvement in this large, widespread customer accounts scandal. But the sad part about it all is that isn't even the half of it. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Oh, and Walmart just took another hit today because the Walmart in Clovis, New Mexico, has just closed indefinitely due to fire. Yeah, so there's that. Maybe another fire related to theft, adding to their multi-million-dollar loss prevention problem, but definitely going to hurt the local folks who live nearby, who rely on this Walmart retail location for groceries and other goods and necessities, their medications from the pharmacy, and employees who count on it for their job and weekly paychecks, albeit a low paycheck that keeps them in the rat race, living below the poverty line, barely getting by, always tired of being broke and living paycheck to paycheck, and just one hiccup or emergency unexpected expense away from being dead broke and facing eviction, and likely living in their car, that is, if it hasn't been repossessed yet. I mean, this now singed Walmart shuttered, locked down for good. And I would expect to see an increase in prices overall to help distribute the weight and burden passed back down and along to the shoppers and customers ringing up their items at the self-checkout registers. I mean, this truly is a disaster. I mean, let's be honest here, really. We're living in an expensive world where some 70% or more of Americans don't have enough money in savings to cover an emergency expense of $500, while so many other people are reaching out and asking to borrow money so they can afford to buy food, pay rent, or keep their cell phone turned on. And the truth is that people just, they don't got it right now. They just don't got it. Not like they used to, you know? And they're literally holding on tight to every last dime or penny, actually, just in case. Because everything just seems so uncertain right now. Do you agree? And the only real certainty, in my opinion, the only real certainty that we can place and on any real consistency that's out there is in the fact that things will probably continue to get worse soon. And more bad news stories, tragedy, disaster, destruction, turmoil, despair, division, fighting, conflict, and collapse will continue to fill our feeds on social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter, Rumble or X, and on YouTube. And the same for turning on your smart TV or picking up a newspaper, which I know is a little bit of a lost art there. But it literally seems like we're just done. Or at least that's what I'm being told. That's what everybody's telling me, you know? And this is before we even get to the big story. I haven't even begun to tell you about the latest from Dr. Anthony Fauci about what he said about lockdowns, allegedly. With the truth of the matter being that the C-19 lockdowns affected families with young children the most. And adults with children under the age of 12 experienced increased job anxiety and found it difficult to dedicate time to work due to home responsibilities. In a recent study conducted by the ECDC, the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control, has examined the impact of C-19 lockdowns on work-life balance, and the research found that adults with children under 12 years old suffered the most from stay-at-home policies and school closures. However, younger adults, households without children, and those living in more rural settings, rural areas, reported a positive experience in terms of their work-life balance during the lockdowns. And the study involved 5 rounds of an e-survey conducted from spring of 2020 to the spring of 2022 with a total of over 118,000 responses. Participants were asked questions about their work-life balance and teleworking experiences during the pandemic, with key findings determining that adults with children under 12 experienced increased job-related worries outside of working hours and difficulty concentrating on work due to family responsibilities. And those living in Western European countries, those individuals living alone and women were among the groups most negatively affected by stay-at-home orders. Additionally, people under the age of 35, those without children, individuals in rural areas, and those in Northern European EU countries reported a positive impact on their work-life balance due to teleworking and being able to work from home and work remote jobs. And lastly, Sweden, which recommended teleworking while keeping primary schools open, saw teleworking improve work-life balance, especially in Northern European countries. But that's pretty much where the silver lining begins to fade away, because the study highlights the need for policymakers, get this, to refine non-pharmaceutical interventions, or NPIs, such as stay-at-home orders and school closures in future pandemics. And this is where the story begins to pretty much come off the rails, okay? Because apparently, an August 23rd article by the People's Voice claims a prominent doctor warned of the need for impending lockdowns for those people who, let's just say, haven't gotten their dosage of the juice that Pfizer was serving. And the same stuff that was causing women to experience miscarriages and other health complications. And some athletes too, collapsing and experiencing myocarditis and going into sudden cardiac arrest. And supposedly, Fauci declares that all unjabbed citizens must be locked down this winter. And that's what the article headline reads. And I'm hearing from a lot of folks that they have recently gotten sick, gotten ill. I'll call it the flu, but they're saying it's something else. And they're very worried, very concerned. But odds are, you guys have probably already seen this at some point in time because the article was shared on Facebook nearly 1,000 times in just a few days, according to a trackable pixel and retargeting data through the use of social media analytics tools. Now, there seems to be a hard line drawn right down the middle and mixed opinions about the likelihood of this new threat of lockdowns coming, being fact or fiction. Some say that it doesn't matter either way because they will not comply, and others are convinced it's just another scare tactic. But some are seriously worried and concerned that it could happen. And they know that if lockdowns did happen again, they would lose everything. They would lose their jobs. No money would be coming in. Income would be wiped out. Bills would pile up, unpaid, and eviction and foreclosure notices and repossession and bankruptcy would likely be their grim future and possible reality, only reality, due to the fact that the Biden administration, U.S. Treasury, and the Fed would not provide any form of stimulus checks or mortgage forbearance or renter protections or unemployment boosts or anything to help soften the blow until the threat was contained. Or at least until everyone got a booster prick in their arm. But that isn't to say that lockdowns aren't real and are not really happening right now. Because if you have gone shopping recently and visited any of these major retailers like Walmart, Target, CVS Pharmacy, Walgreens, or pretty much any retailer for that matter. I mean, actually, now that I think about it, someone even told me that I think the Dollar Tree is beginning to lock up items to prevent theft now, too. The Dollar Tree, or 5 quarter store now. But major U.S. retailers are saying that they have been forced to put daily use items such as toothpaste, chocolate, washing powder, and deodorant under lock and key amid a spate of organized shoplifting. And as customers grapple with escalating cost of living, many major retailers, including Walmart and Target, have seen their latest earnings dip significantly due to some sticky-fingered patrons, is how they describe them. So now, many retail stores are implementing various anti-theft measures, such as transparent walls with locks on shelves, padlock chains on refrigerators, and call buttons for staff. So I'm saying that the yogurt normally isn't behind the doors. It's like this open refrigerated area like that. And she says, well, maybe it's because it's so hot. And I'm thinking, all right, it's more efficient because you can keep the cold air in. You can keep the temperature inside. That they got it set at 34, whatever that is. And she's like, no. This way they can easily lock these shut, when they want to. Yep. Or need to. Or have to. Yeah. So now, many of these retail stores are implementing these various anti-theft measures, such as these transparent walls with locks on shelves, padlock chains on refrigerators, and call buttons for staff. However, these efforts have only seen moderate success as shoplifters continue to steal expensive products in crowded stores. Incidents of theft involving violence or threats of violence have increased by 120% in the first 5 months of the year, according to Target's CEO Brian Cornell. And some retailers have instructed their staff not to intervene in thefts and avoid contacting the police for safety reasons. And the National Retail Federation's 2022 Retail Security Survey estimated that retailers lost $94.5 billion nationwide in inventory shrinkage last year, which includes losses from staff theft as well, shoplifting, and administrative errors. Organized retail crime also rose by an average of 26.5%. There have been also reports of flash mob or flash rob incidents where groups enter stores, grab items, and flee. The shoplifting crisis in the United States gained momentum during the C-19 pandemic, and the spike in theft comes as interest rates have increased significantly, making borrowing more expensive and putting pressure on consumers. Many people have already depleted their pandemic savings, and high inflation has made it challenging for them to maintain their standard of living. Several stores, such as Walmart and Walgreens, have all closed locations due to theft related issues and profitability concerns, too. So, now that I think about it, I guess everyone was right. The lockdowns are coming, and in fact, are already here, depending on how you look at it. Now, this is not, in my opinion, the world that I hope to be living in today, and definitely not the world that I had once envisioned for my kid growing up. Not at all. Shit has hit the fan, and we are all more than likely going to have to suffer because of it in some way, shape, or form. I mean, prices going up, inconveniences in stores because items are locked up, stores closing, having to travel, commute further distances, forced to order online or whatever it may be. Yeah, we're all going to have to suffer because of it, some way, shape, or form. Well, that is at least until the 2024 election, possibly, when maybe we can begin to right some of these wrongs and reverse some of these poor policies and decisions, the corrupt money laundering and costly results of lollygagging and delayed inaction that only really truly hurt the American people. Yeah. What do you guys think? Drop a comment down below. Let me know, what should we do first? What do you think we should do first? What do you think is the best way to prepare for this? Is stockpiling the answer? And if so, what should we be stocking up on first? I'd love to know what you guys think. Are these warning signs and breaking news alerts just? Or is this just more FUD? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt to distract us from what's most important. Let me know.